You ever looked at your life and wondered if there's a deeper pattern behind it all? A hidden map that explains your emotions, your struggles, your dreams, and even your connection to the universe itself. What if I told you that such a map exists? And it's been around for thousands of years, quietly passed down through mystical teachings and ancient texts. This map is called the Tree of Life, a central symbol in the Kabbalah, the mystical tradition within Judaism. But its wisdom reaches far beyond religious boundaries, offering profound insight to anyone on a spiritual journey, whether you're a seeker, a meditator, a philosopher, or simply someone trying to understand the bigger picture of life. The Tree of Life is not just a symbol, it's a blueprint of reality, of the universe, and of your inner world. It shows how energy flows from the divine into creation, how the soul descends into the body, and how we can ascend back to spiritual awareness and unity. In today's video, we are going to explore the full story of the Tree of Life. We'll break down each of its 10 spheres, known as the Sephirot, uncover the deeper meanings behind their names and connections, and discover how this ancient diagram can serve as a spiritual compass for your daily life. So take a deep breath, open your mind and heart, and let's begin this journey into the sacred geometry of the soul, because once you understand the Tree of Life, you'll never look at yourself or the universe the same way again. To understand the Tree of Life, we must first step into the world of Kabbalah, a mystical tradition that emerged from ancient Jewish thought, though some say its roots are even older, hidden within the spiritual teachings of early humanity. Kabbalah is not just a system of belief. It is an exploration of the invisible layers of reality, a way to connect with the divine, not through dogma, but through experience, through inner transformation, and through sacred knowledge. The Tree of Life is the core symbol of this mystical tradition. It is not an actual tree in the physical world, but a spiritual diagram, a cosmic structure that represents how divine energy flows into the universe and into us. It is a bridge between the infinite and the finite, between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter. Some traditions trace the Tree of Life back to the Garden of Eden, where it stood as a gateway to eternal life and divine wisdom. Others see it as encoded within ancient texts like the Sephirot and the Zohar, which describe the structure of the universe using sacred numbers, letters, and energies. Over time, the Tree of Life has influenced many spiritual paths beyond Judaism. Its wisdom was adopted by Christian mystics, Islamic Sufis, and later Western esotericists during the Renaissance and Enlightenment. It became linked with alchemy, astrology, and the Tarot, turning into a universal map of consciousness. At its heart, the Tree of Life is made up of 10 circles or spheres, called Sephirot, each one representing a different aspect of God, of creation, and of the human soul. These spheres are not separate. They are deeply interconnected, forming a network of divine energy, purpose, and experience. The tree is not just meant to be studied. It is meant to be lived, to be embodied. It mirrors the journey of the soul from its origin in divine light, down through the levels of creation into the physical world, and ultimately back up towards spiritual awakening and unity. Whether you see it as a mystical code, a psychological tool, or a sacred path, the Tree of Life offers a profound way to understand who you are, why you are here, and how everything in the universe is deeply connected. And now that you know where the Tree of Life comes from and why it matters, let's look deeper at its structure, starting with the 10 Sephirot and the wisdom they carry within them. The heart of the Tree of Life is its 10 Sephirot, often described as divine emanations or attributes of God. But they are more than just qualities. They are the building blocks of all existence. They represent stages of creation, levels of consciousness, and aspects of the human soul. Each Sephirah is like a vessel that channels divine energy from the source into the world. They are not separate entities, but deeply connected, forming a dynamic flow from the infinite to the finite, from the unmanifest to the manifest. We begin at the top with Keter, which means crown. Keter represents pure divine will, It is the seed of all creation, the initial impulse that begins everything, beyond thought, beyond form, beyond duality. It is the most hidden and unknowable aspect of the divine, often described as the spark of light before the first word is spoken. Below Keter is Chokmah, which means wisdom. This is the first flash of insight, the creative spark, the inspiration that bursts forth from pure will. It is intuitive, powerful, and active, often compared to the masculine force of the universe, not in gender, but in energy, representing raw potential and forward motion. Balancing Chokmah is Binah, which means understanding. Binah receives the spark of wisdom and gives it shape. It is the womb of creation, the structure, the form, the feminine principle that turns inspiration into something tangible. It is reflective, nurturing, and deeply intuitive. Together, Chokmah and Binah create the basic duality from which all life unfolds. Next we have Chest, which means loving-kindness or mercy. It is the outpouring of generosity, abundance, and divine grace. Chest is the force that wants to expand, to share, to embrace. It flows endlessly and represents unconditional love, the power that gives without limits. To balance Chest, we encounter Gevurah, which means strength or judgment. While Chest expands, Gevurah contracts. It sets boundaries, enforces discipline, and ensures balance. Without Gevurah, love would become chaotic. So this Sephirot teaches restraint, focus, and the wisdom of limits. It is the power of justice and inner control. In the center between these two is Tiferet, which means beauty. Tiferet harmonizes the expansive love of Chest with the disciplined strength of Gevurah. It represents the heart, compassion, balance, and truth. It is often associated with the image of the enlightened soul, the beauty that comes from integrating both mercy and judgment into divine harmony. Moving downward, we reach Netzach, meaning eternity or endurance. Netzach is the force of persistence, ambition, and the drive to achieve. It reflects the emotional passion that keeps us going even when life becomes difficult. It is associated with leadership, courage, and victory. On the opposite side is Hod, meaning glory or splendor. Where Netzach is raw passion and movement, Hod is intellect, precision, and strategy. It is the power of language, ritual, and communication. It brings clarity and analysis to our actions, allowing us to think before we act and speak with purpose. Together, Netzach and Hod create a dynamic flow between emotion and intellect, action and reflection, passion and logic, and they both feed into the next Sephirah, which is Yesod. Yesod means foundation, and it acts as the channel, the connector, the bridge between the spiritual and the physical. It gathers the energies of all the previous Sephirot and funnels them into one stream. It is associated with dreams, the subconscious, sexuality, and the power of connection. Yesod is the realm of imagination, memory, and intuition. And finally, we arrive at Malkuth, which means kingdom. This is the physical world, the material plane, the place where all the divine energies manifest into reality. Malkuth is the earth, the body, the senses, the here and now, although it may seem the furthest from the divine. It is actually where all spiritual energy finds its purpose. It is not separate from the tree, but its fulfillment. The journey from Keter to Malkuth is the descent of divine light into the world, but it is also the path of the soul rising back up to its source. Each Sephirah can be seen as both a lesson and a guide, a mirror and a map, helping us to understand ourselves and align more deeply with the universe. Understanding the Sephirot is not about memorizing names. It's about recognizing these energies within yourself, in your thoughts, your choices, your emotions, and your actions, because the tree of life is not only out there in the cosmos, it is also within you, alive, waiting to be awakened. Now that we have explored each of the 10 Sephirot and their divine meanings, Let's move on to how these spheres are organized through the three pillars and the sacred paths that connect them. As we go deeper into the tree of life, we begin to see that it is not just a vertical chain of spheres. It is a living structure built around three powerful pillars. These pillars represent forces within creation and within ourselves that must be balanced and integrated for spiritual growth to happen. On the right side of the tree, we have the pillar of mercy. This is the active, expansive force associated with giving, creativity, and love. It includes the Sephirot of Chokmah, chest, and Netzach. This pillar represents the energy that moves outward, that creates and shares. It is often linked with the masculine principle and symbolizes inspiration, freedom, and generosity. On the left side, we find the pillar of severity, also called the pillar of judgment. This is the force of contraction, control, and discipline. It contains the Sephirot of Bina, Gevurah, and Hod. This pillar is about boundaries, precision, and structure. It helps us define our goals, master our impulses, and shape our spiritual development through effort and reflection. In the center stands the pillar of balance, sometimes known as the pillar of harmony or the middle pillar. This is the path of integration, where opposing forces are united in wisdom and inner peace. It includes the Sephirot of Keter, Tiferet, Yesod, and Malkuth. This pillar represents the human experience, the soul's journey, and the ability to hold both strength and compassion, both will and surrender. These three pillars are not separate. They are like currents flowing through the tree, creating a dynamic system of balance and transformation, just like in life, where we must learn when to give and when to hold back, when to act and when to listen, when to shine and when to retreat. But the structure of the tree goes even further. Between the 10 Sephirot there are 22 paths. These paths are the lines that connect one sphere to another. They represent the movement of energy, the transitions between different states of being. They also correspond to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, each letter carrying a sacred vibration and meaning. In some mystical systems, these paths are also linked to the major arcana of the Tarot, forming a bridge between the worlds of Kabbalah and Western esotericism. Each path tells a story, a lesson, a spiritual challenge or revelation. As we walk these paths inwardly, we are walking the journey of the soul through the lessons of life. So when we speak of the tree of life, we are not only referring to the Sephirot as static points, we are speaking of a full living system with currents of energy flowing from one sphere to another, balancing the opposing forces of mercy and severity through the central path of balance. To truly walk the tree of life is to walk these paths, to experience the movement of spirit within us, to evolve through struggle and grace, through order and chaos, through thought and emotion, until we reach a place of wholeness. Now that we understand the three pillars and the sacred paths that bind the tree together, let's turn to the next question. How can this powerful symbol be used in real life? How do we bring the tree of life into our daily spiritual practice? The tree of life is not just a mystical diagram or a symbolic map. It is a reflection of the human soul and the spiritual journey that each of us is called to take, from the highest divine essence to the material world and back again. The tree mirrors the path of awakening, of remembering who we truly are. At the top of the tree is Keter, the divine spark, the place of infinite potential and unity. When we are born into the world, the connection is still there, pure and untouched. But as we grow, we begin to descend through the levels of the tree. We move from pure will into the realm of thought, into understanding, emotion, desire, and eventually into the physical body and material life, which is Malkuth. This descent is not a fall from grace. It is the path of manifestation, of soul choosing to express itself in form. But along the way we forget. We become entangled in the illusions of the world. We lose sight of the divine light within us. And so the spiritual journey is the return, the ascent back through the tree, from Malkuth to Keter, from matter to spirit, from separation to unity. Each Sephirah on this journey becomes a stage of development, a challenge to overcome, or a lesson to integrate. Yes, it invites us to confront our unconscious patterns and emotional blocks, to clean the channel of our connection. Hod teaches us to examine our thoughts and beliefs, to speak truth with clarity and intention. Netzach shows us the need for devotion, perseverance, and purpose. When we reach Tiferet, the heart of the tree, we meet the center of our being, the place where ego can dissolve and true compassion can arise. It is here that many experience a spiritual awakening, a deep sense of love and connection that transcends the mind and touches the soul. But the journey doesn't end there. It continues upward into Gevura and Chest, learning to balance discipline and mercy, to set boundaries without losing kindness, to lead with integrity and act with wisdom. Then we rise into Bina, the understanding of the deeper laws of the universe, the acceptance of both suffering and mystery, and we touch Chokmah, the spark of divine wisdom that sees beyond the veil. And finally, we return to Keter, not as innocent beings unaware of the world, but as souls who have descended, experienced, struggled, grown, and returned with wisdom, compassion, and light. This is the spiritual journey of the Tree of Life, a path that repeats in cycles, in lifetimes, in each moment of awakening. The beauty of the tree is that it can guide anyone, regardless of religion or background. It speaks to the soul in a language beyond words, and the more you walk it, the more you realize it is not about escaping the world, but sanctifying it, not about avoiding pain, but transforming it, not about reaching somewhere else, but remembering what you already are. Now that we have explored the tree as a spiritual journey, let us turn to how these ancient teachings can be applied in everyday life, in the choices we make, the challenges we face, and the ways we grow from them. Even though the Tree of Life comes from an ancient mystical tradition, its wisdom is more relevant today than ever before. In a world filled with distractions, uncertainty, and emotional overload, many people feel disconnected from themselves, from others, and from any sense of deeper purpose. The Tree of Life offers a timeless framework to reconnect with what truly matters. Each Sephirah can become a mirror for self-reflection and personal growth. When you feel overwhelmed by emotion, look to Yesod. Ask yourself what lies beneath the surface of your feelings, what memories or patterns are shaping your reactions. When you are stuck in overthinking or self-doubt, reflect on Hod, where clarity of thought and honesty with yourself can guide you forward. When you feel exhausted, drained by the pace of modern life, visit Netzach, the sphere of endurance and passion. Remember why you started. Find again that spark that keeps you moving. And when you are faced with choices that test your values, turn to Tiferet, your inner truth, your heart's wisdom. This is not abstract spirituality. This is real-life application. We live in a time where personal development has become a major focus, but often it is approached from the outside in. Setting goals, building habits, changing appearances. The Tree of Life teaches us to grow from the inside out, to align our thoughts, emotions, will, and actions with something greater than ourselves, to become not just more productive, but more whole, more aware, more alive. Modern psychology, mindfulness, even leadership in creative fields are now echoing what Kabbalists taught centuries ago: the power of intention, the importance of emotional integration, the balance between structure and flow. All these ideas live within the tree. In your personal life, you can use the tree as a tool for meditation, for journaling, for decision-making, or for healing old wounds. You can ask yourself, which Sephirah am I stuck in right now? Where am I not flowing? What needs to be balanced or awakened? With practice, the tree becomes less of a map on paper and more of a living guide within you. And perhaps most importantly, the tree reminds us that we are not separate from the divine, that the same energy which formed the stars flows through us, that every challenge is a step on the path, every mistake a chance to grow, and every day an opportunity to climb a little higher. Next, we move into the final part of our journey, where we explore how different traditions and teachings have used the tree of life, and how this ancient symbol continues to evolve across time and culture. As we come to the end of this journey through the tree of life, take a moment to breathe and reflect, not just on the knowledge you've received, but on the deeper resonance it may have awakened within you. This is more than ancient wisdom. It is a map to remember who you are beneath the noise, the labels, and the stories you've been told. The tree invites you to see life not as chaos, but as a meaningful process. Every joy and sorrow, every success and setback becomes a step in your personal evolution. You are not broken. You are unfolding. You are not lost. You are being guided. The light you seek is not out there somewhere. It is already within you, waiting to be seen and lived. If this video sparked something in you, a curiosity or a longing to go deeper, let that be your invitation to explore further, read, meditate, reflect, ask questions, trust your own inner journey. The tree of life is not only for mystics or scholars. It is for anyone who is seeking truth, healing, and connection. If you found value in this